My brother-in-law's eyes were fixed on me instead of his own wife. He stared at me as if I were not his elder brother's wife, but his own. When I raised my eyes toward him, our gazes met, and he smiled. I glared back at him, hoping he would feel at least a little ashamed. After all, I was his brother's wife. There was supposed to be modesty and respect between us, but he had no shame. His eyes did not move away even for a second. I was uncomfortable and confused. When he pulled a chair close to mine and sat beside me, I shifted slightly away. Leaning near my ear, he whispered, "I made a huge mistake. First, the proposal was meant for you and me. But I said let my older brother marry first, and then I'll marry whoever else. I swear, sister-in-law, I regret it now. If only I had known you better, I would never have refused." His words made my face burn with anger. Had I not been sitting there as a bride, I would have walked away. Just then, my husband approached and asked him what he was whispering about. My brother-in-law laughed it off, saying, "The relationship between a brother-in-law and sister-in-law is special, like friends." A little laughter and teasing. "I was just building closeness so she won't feel uncomfortable later." That was the beginning. Whenever I swept the courtyard, my brother-in-law would sit nearby, smoking, and make vulgar remarks as I passed. One night, I finally tried telling my husband that his brother's intentions were not right, but before I could finish, he exploded. He accused me of trying to create conflict because I was beautiful and wanted him to be under my control. He said he would never leave his parents or suspect his younger brother because of my false accusations. Later that night, I overheard something that broke me completely. Through my window, I heard my brother-in-law poisoning my husband's mind. He was telling him to control his wife or he would lose respect. He spoke about me in disgusting ways, and my husband remained silent. Then another shock came. My husband excitedly told me he was going to New York to work as a driver and earn well. I didn't want him to go. I was already uncomfortable because of his brother's behavior. But he didn't listen. Within a week, he left. He began sending money home. He sent expenses to his mother and also sent me a separate amount. My brother-in-law, however, grew increasingly jealous. He even quit his own job. On Christmas, my parents sent beautiful gifts and gold bangles for me. My co-sister's family, being poor, brought only a simple dress. My brother-in-law insulted her again for it. Then one day, he asked me for my suitcase. I casually told him to take it from the cupboard himself. That was my mistake. A week later, my husband returned from New York for a short vacation. The same evening, my brother-in-law arrived, announcing he had started a new business. Everyone was surprised. Where had he gotten the money? The next morning, I received a call from our family lawyer. He asked why I had sold my inherited shops, properties worth millions. My hands started shaking. I had sold nothing. The truth hit like lightning. My brother-in-law had stolen the property documents from my room and sold my inheritance. He used that money to start his business. I walked into the courtyard burning with rage. Without hesitation, I slapped him across the face. The sound echoed. My husband slapped me in return for hitting his brother. But when I revealed the truth, my mother-in-law grabbed her younger son and demanded an explanation. He finally confessed. He said he regretted not marrying me because I came from a wealthy background. He admitted he sold my property to fund his own business and believed he had done nothing wrong. My mother-in-law beat him in anger, calling the money unlawful and shameful. The money was returned. I bought back my shops, even paying extra to reverse the sale. My husband covered the additional cost. My brother-in-law apologized. I forgave him, not because he deserved it, but because I refused to carry hatred in my heart. Eventually, my husband arranged for him to work in New York as well. By the time my brother-in-law left for New York, I had already set another plan in motion. While everyone believed I had forgiven him out of generosity, the reality was far more complicated. During the chaos of the property scandal, when lawyers were visiting and documents were being discussed, I had grown close to someone else, my brother-in-law's closest friend. He had been coming to the house often, pretending to help with paperwork and business advice. He listened when I spoke. He believed me when I said I had been wronged. And in those vulnerable weeks, when my husband's trust had once failed me, I allowed myself to cross a boundary I never thought I would. When I slapped my brother-in-law and exposed his theft, everyone saw a victim reclaiming her dignity. But behind that courage was calculation. I knew once the property was legally restored in my name, no one could question my authority over it again. My husband paid the extra amount to reverse the sale, thinking he was repairing a wrong done to his wife. He never realized I was already planning my next move. After everything settled and peace returned to the house, I quietly began transferring ownership of the shops, not to my husband, not to my in-laws, but to the man who had stood beside me in secret, the friend. I justified it to myself in 100 ways. I told myself my husband had once doubted me. I told myself this family had disrespected me first. I told myself I deserved control over my own inheritance. But deep down, I knew the real reason. I was no longer thinking like a wounded wife. I was thinking like a woman in love with someone she shouldn't have been. Months passed. The affair continued carefully. Hidden calls, short meetings under the excuse of market visits. Every time I returned home, I played the role of the devoted wife flawlessly. And then I became pregnant. When I told my husband, he was overjoyed. He thanked God, thanked his parents, even thanked me for bringing happiness back into the house. Everyone celebrated. Sweets were distributed, prayers were offered, and I stood there smiling, carrying a truth only I knew. The child was not my husband's. For a while, I believed fate was on my side. My lover promised me that once things were stable, we would build a life together. He said the property would secure our future. He spoke of plans. New business expansions, moving away, starting fresh somewhere no one knew us. I believed him, but life does not reward betrayal with loyalty. A year later, everything changed. Without warning, he told me his family had arranged his marriage. He said he had no choice. He said he could not refuse. He said we had to end things for the best. The same man who once swore he would never leave me chose comfort and reputation over me. Within weeks, he was married. His calls became rare. Then they stopped completely. I was left holding my child, our child, inside a house built on deception. The property was already transferred. Legally, it no longer belonged to me. I had given everything away for a promise that vanished. Sometimes at night, when my husband plays with our son, lifting him high with pride in his eyes, a crushing weight settles on my chest. He sees his own reflection in the child's smile. He plans schools, savings, a future, and I stand there, torn between guilt and fear. The irony is unbearable. I once believed I was clever. I thought I had controlled every move, the confrontation, the forgiveness, the legal recovery, the transfers. I thought I was 10 steps ahead of everyone. But in the end, I was the one left with nothing but regret. My brother-in-law reformed through hardship. My husband rebuilt trust through patience. Even my co-sister found independence through resilience. And me? I built a web so intricate that I trapped myself inside it. Now, every time I look at my child, I feel both overwhelming love and piercing remorse. He is innocent in a story filled with manipulation. He deserves truth, stability, and honor, none of which define the choices I made. If there is one thing I have learned, it is this. Revenge disguised as empowerment destroys more than it repairs. Betrayal, even when justified by pain, creates wounds that never fully close. And now, I am here to confess. I could not carry this burden alone anymore. Every smile I fake, every prayer I stand in, every time my husband thanks me for being a loyal wife, the weight inside my chest grows heavier. I am tired of pretending, tired of living inside a lie I carefully constructed with my own hands. This is my confession, not because I was exposed, not because anyone forced me, but because the guilt has become louder than my fear. I don't know what judgment awaits me. I don't know if the truth will ever come out in my real life. But I know one thing. I could not keep this poison sealed inside my heart forever. So I am speaking it here. Because some burdens are too heavy to carry in silence.